This season of So You Want to Run a Restaurant is brought to you by Localizer.
In today's market, the difference between a full house and an empty one is discoverability, and Localizer makes sure your restaurant actually gets found.
Yeah, by making it easy to manage all your online reviews, you'll boost your ranking on Google, Yelp, and even the top delivery apps. And more visibility means more customers walking through your door.
Turn your great reputation into real growth. And as an added bonus, listeners of this show get a 25% off discount on your first 3 months.
Learn how at localizer.com/podcast. That's LOCALYSER.com/podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia Sarek.
And I'm Spencer Michael.
And this is So You Want to Run a Restaurant, created by the team at backofhouse.io, the most trusted resource for restaurant tech.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. We are here on location again in Grand Rapids at the Gordon Food Service Food Show here in DeVos Place. And we're excited to welcome Jon to our show, so hope you enjoy it.
Yes, so Jon O'Connor is the co-founder and co-owner of Long Road Distillers in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Jon and his partner launched the first distillery in Grand Rapids with a grain-to-glass, no shortcuts philosophy, building everything from local sourcing to production itself.
And beyond the distilling business, Jon is also very active in civic life as a former city commissioner here in Grand Rapids and broader in the Michigan spirits community as a member of the Michigan Craft Distiller Association.
So we are going to talk to Jon today about the early days and lessons learned to what's happening now at Long Road and where he sees the craft spirits industry heading. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So Jon, tell us about your background before you got into distilling. What was the path that led you to this business?
I had I had a little bit of hospitality experience when I was, in high school. I washed dishes for a couple of weeks and ate.
Like so many people do.
Yeah, and that was really the extent of my hospitality influence. But my past life, I was in real estate. I was a real estate appraiser, real estate broker, ran my own business with another guy. And but we really loved spirits, and nobody had ever done it in Grand Rapids. And so after lots and lots of conversations, we figured out how to do it. And I made a pretty big career shift back in 2013.
So how did that actually turn into a distillery plan with your partner? You met, tell us the story.
After college, my business partner, Kyle, and I, we met both serving on the board at West Grand Neighborhood. After college, I had bought my house on the west side. We just wanted to continue to be involved in the neighborhood and celebrate the great things that the neighborhood has. And we do what a lot of people do. We'd take our wives, we'd go wine tasting, we'd go bourbon touring, we'd go hit up all the great breweries in town and across Michigan. And but the topic always led back to, man, I really wish Grand Rapids had a distillery. We both really appreciate spirits and especially craft cocktails. And at that point in time, Grand Rapids really didn't have a craft cocktail scene.
Which is crazy to think about now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and then, just where we're located in Michigan, right? I think Michigan is this beautiful, unique place. Michigan's the second most agriculturally diverse state in the country in terms of agricultural production and the things that we grow. And so we'd be hanging out, talking about neighborhood stuff and the city and like, what does Grand Rapids need? And that topic of a distillery came up over and over and over again every time we were in someone's basement drinking whiskey. And so finally one night after
Which are the best conversations.
Absolutely.
Those are the moments where things happen. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we were maybe a couple bottles of Jameson deep for the few of us. And,
This is a good idea.
yeah, it was a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, and finally a friend of ours who is also a former city commissioner and a banker said, I'm tired of you two knuckleheads talking about this. Why don't you just do it? And,
Nice.
Again, it sounded like a great idea at midnight after a little whiskey in your system. And Kyle called me the next day and just said, Jon, like, we should look into this. Like, we should really try to figure this out. And again, having no background in beverage making or hospitality, we were just like, well, what does it mean to be a distiller? And so we started doing our research, right? And trying to figure out like the industry, the concept, how to get to market. And we learned right away that, there's a lot of mistruths that get told in our business, in alcohol and especially spirits, that there are people who just want a brand, right? They're just they're gonna create a package, tell you some yarn about their granddaddy's recipe, and they don't actually make anything. They're a secondary hand in the process.
Right.
They're just somebody who's making the booze. It's getting bottled, and they got a website and a distribution channel. But for us, we're proud Michiganders, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm from the east side of the state. Like, we make cars. Living in Grand Rapids, we make furniture.
Yeah.
And so, like, we wanted to be makers of something and really kind of put our money where our mouth is and say, you know what? We can prove to the world that you can make world-class spirits using exclusively Michigan ingredients. And so that's how we landed on the name Long Road, right? It's like not taking shortcuts. It's about doing things the right way.
Nice.
It might not be as profitable from day one. It might be a harder path, but, again, Michigan's the second most agriculturally diverse state in the country. So we
Yeah.
have access to all 4 major cereal grains that you need for distilling. We have the best water in the world from Lake Michigan that is pumped right here to the city of Grand Rapids.
That's true.
We're right by the Fruit Ridge, from here all the way to Traverse City, where we grow amazing fruits like apples and cherries. And so we just really leaned into saying, you know what, if we're going to do this, we're all in, and we're going to figure out how to
Yeah.
be honest and transparent and tell the truth at every
I
turn.
love that story.
I
And,
love that.
yeah.
That's amazing.
And then I was fortunate enough to see you actually build out the space as well. I was there too. It was the day you were, I think you guys were sweeping up debris from that on, and it was a heritage building. So generally when people take over a heritage building and they're going to make it something, they renovate the inside. First thing you guys did was cut a hole in the roof so you could fit the still in there. So a major undertaking there as well. So walk us through just the from concept all the way through to having their first location.
Yeah, so we originally were going to operate just out of a little warehouse space and have try to just start producing something at small
Right.
scale. We were fortunate to have another business partner who has a background in some restaurant stuff. And he, we went to him originally, he's an attorney and he's a friend. And I went to him to say, hey, we want to start this distillery. What do you think of this idea? I just want to make sure I'm not going to get myself into some sort of future financial trouble, or this is a decision I'll regret.
Yeah.
And
We made this decision after a bottle of Jameson.
Yeah.
So
well,
That's
can
a
you
good question.
just fact check this for me? Yeah.
Exactly. I do my diligence. About 30 minutes into the conversation, he said, I want in.
Nice.
And, which is fortunate for us that we had someone with a little more resources than us that could step up to
Sure.
the plate and,
Nice.
and be quiet in the background, but still supportive of what we're doing. And that gave us the ability to then find a building. And
Yeah.
we're good friends with the guys at the Mitten Brewing Company. They're in
Yep.
our neighborhood. They had, taken a historic building and turned it into something cool. It was kind of the epicenter of the resurgence on Leonard Street. And my background in real estate, I found the building next door to them had come up for sale.
Nice.
And so we jumped at the chance to have, a building on a corner next to another cool business. And it sort of started a movement there on our corner of Leonard and Quarry on the west side. Now we have 3 craft beverage makers at 3 consecutive addresses in a row on that street.
Wow.
Along with a great barbecue shop across the street. And the comedy project's now open. So there's all this recent investment that's happened in this little
Yeah.
this
It
little
sounds like
pocket.
you planted a seed and then it just kept growing from there, and you've got this whole field of people that are all joining in. And
Yeah,
so,
and I don't want to say it's not. If you're an entrepreneur, you got to be the one to have the idea and take the risk. But I feel like we took with us and the Mitten, and it just started. It was like just pushing the ball up to
Yeah.
the top of the hill, and at some point a little momentum happened, and now
So
Wow.
everything was starting to everything kind of was falling into place. You found out that this great building was all of a sudden, it's
I don't know
on,
if it
it's
was
on
a
the
great
market.
building.
But you made it a great building. Yeah, it was. Yeah, the before and afters, which are quite striking. But I think just the entire process, we had an idea, and then the people came on board that knew what they were doing, and you had a real estate background, and how your partner had a hospitality background, and then oftentimes that comes, but you took action on it, which is incredible, and that's why you're successful, I'd imagine, because you saw an opportunity and it's like, well, I'm going to go for this now, and this is something that I'm going to do, and a lot of people are afraid to do that. So I don't know if you know of anybody, or if you could give anybody advice on that, to just how do you just decide to decisively take action in these areas?
I think we just have a reasonable tolerance for risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're willing to try. And you don't. I always say you don't hit home runs if you don't swing at pitches. So
I mean,
we
that's
just gotta
true.
you gotta go. And like all things, you gotta have enough. What's like the military saying? You gotta have about 70 to 80% of the information and then make a decision. Because if you're
Yeah.
trying to get to perfect, you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
So just be willing to try. And there's been some lumps along the way. We haven't always. We've failed, but we like to fail quickly. And be willing to admit when you're wrong, and work your ass off. That's what we do. We from day one, we were in the building from 8 in the morning till 1 in the morning every
Yeah.
day. Like you just put your blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Was there ever a make or break moment? Was there ever a moment like, okay, this is going to go one way or the other?
There's been a few of those.
Okay.
I think the thing that's been fortunate for us is that we probably could have been on, say, Wealthy Street, and there was a big debate with my business my quiet business partner and I about, well, where should we be? And Kyle and I believe in our neighborhood, and we wanted to kind of say, we're going to plant our flag here because, we think this neighborhood's great, and we've been working for, a better part of a decade trying to convince other people that they should think the neighborhood is great because it is. And we didn't take the easy path in selecting our location. We wanted to be part of something that was, at the grassroots level, not something that was already ascending to something that's, pretty spectacular.
Nice.
So we jumped at that building. It was, like I said, it was ugly. It was tired, but it had history. And I think it's been good for us to be able to, like, my whole life is on Leonard Street. I live off Leonard Street. My business is on Leonard Street. That is my whole world now. And I couldn't be more proud of the fact that, we're sitting on West Leonard, and, you see all the great things that are happening in Grand Rapids, and the West Side as a whole is seeing a lot of significant investment over the last
that's
decade.
really amazing.
That's great. That's
I
awesome.
love that.
Catering orders can get messy, forms, phone calls, and way too many mistakes. But Rally Catering by App 8 makes it easy. Guests order online with 0 errors, saving your team time and allowing you to capture more business with higher margins. Less stress, fewer mistakes, and more revenue means catering finally works the way it should. And right now, listeners of this show get 30% off their monthly subscription for the first year. Head to app8solutions.com to learn more.
So let's talk about Long Road today. You produce vodka, gin, whiskey, liqueurs, like a ton of different stuff. How do you balance maintaining quality across so many categories? And how do you decide what we're going to do next? What stays, what goes?
I think that's a great question, right? Like when we started, we opened our door with 3 spirits. Vodka, a dry gin, and an unaged whiskey. And if you asked today the number of SKUs, I probably can't tell you the number of SKUs we've produced over the last, 10 years of doing this. But we always, I think the thing that Kyle and I always say is you have to know what good tastes like in order to make good, right? You have to have a discerning enough palate to say this is what we want this to taste like, and then have a plan to go out and create it. And so some things started because they're staples, right? Vodka, gin, and whiskey are staples in a spirits portfolio. Yeah. But the 4th product we made was something called aquavit, right? It's a very esoteric Scandinavian spirit made with caraway and dill. And we made that because we wanted to make that, not because we thought there was a market for it. I mean, most people don't even know what it is to this day. But we said we're going to do this for us.
And is it still there?
It's still there. It won best in show at the American Craft Spirits conference in 2017, which is the first time a clear spirit ever won.
What is a cocktail you would make with that, or is it more of a sipper?
So if you were in one of the Scandinavian countries, you'd probably keep it in the freezer, take little shots as you're having a holiday celebration.
That sounds
or a
very
birthday.
Scandinavian.
Yeah. But our favorite and probably the gateway cocktail for aquavit is just like a classic gimlet or a classic daiquiri. 2 ounces of aquavit, 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. Shake that up, strain it over in a coupe, garnish it with a lime wheel, and it lets the aquavit be the star of the show, but puts it in the context of a classic cocktail recipe, so that you get you have an understanding of the format, but then the flavors of the aquavit. Really
I understand, Jen, you brought some for everybody today. No.
There's probably some
bring it out.
That's
Cheers.
no. Oh my goodness. Okay. I hope we can only wish.
So how have you handled the rise of mocktails? Because I feel like we're seeing so many people that come on the show talk about how their business was disrupted by mocktails and this rise of the non-alcoholic drinkers. How has your business handled that?
I think if we step back one step before that,
Yeah.
I think all of our businesses were disrupted by the pandemic.
Of
right?
course.
And so during that time, we were making hand sanitizer and selling cocktail kits to go.
Yeah.
Right? Because people had a little free time, had a little money in their pocket, and were like needing something to do. So we had lots of people who were like, man, I miss Long Road. I wish I could have a drink. And we started putting little paper bags together with a bottle of gin and some grapefruits and some simple syrups we'd make for you. And you were at home doing that. Then Governor Whitmer signed a bill that allowed you to do cocktails to go. And we have always done draft cocktails at Long Road. So similar how you'd go to a brewery and get a crowler of beer off the draft line, and they'd can it for you, and you could take home a draft beer. We started doing that with cocktails.
That is dangerous.
And the cocktail kits just died because everyone's like, that's work, and I'm not good at it.
Yeah, we want it right there.
I want it now.
I get it.
And so then we just, after doing that and finding success, we started entering the canned cocktail, the ready-to-drink canned cocktail market right away. And that has now grown into us doing a full line of non-alcoholic canned cocktails.
And is it continuing to do well?
Yeah, we
both
launched
sides?
those in December of last year. So it's a small segment of the market, 1 or 2% of the total adult beverage market, but it's the fastest growing segment of adult beverage. And so for us, it's really how do we take those same flavors of a bar quality cocktail in a can and let you have it without the alcohol. And we've seen that. We've had mocktails and non-alcoholic cocktails on our bar menu for a long time, just one or two options. But we did start to see people, more and more people would come in, be able to have a drink and then get a mocktail. Or you come in with a group of people for a party and one person's going to be the designated driver
Right.
or is sober for whatever reason. So having that option was important. And now the RTD ready to drink can format is just, it's growing rapidly for us. We just got placement in a very large Michigan retail chain.
Ooh. Do you want to drop it now?
Yeah, but it's at Meijer. It started 4 weeks
Amazing.
ago. So,
Congratulations.
so
Well
now we
done.
have all 4 SKUs are in the cold box at every Meijer in the state of Michigan.
Oh, wow.
And so,
These
yeah, I
are the
think
mocktails or the RTDs or both?
RTDs as well.
Okay, nice.
But the non-alcoholic section was a huge win for us. We had it in a few stores. It did really, really well. In fact, Bridge Street Market just around the corner, it became one of them was our #1 selling SKU across
Oh, that's so
30
cool.
SKUs in the store was a non-alcohol. It was the
Yeah.
non-alcoholic lavender lemonade.
Wow.
So
That's
we've
awesome.
taken flavors that people know and appreciate in our regular canned cocktails and just taking the alcohol out of them. So you can have that same experience, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to sit and drink 4 or 5 or 6 of them.
Right.
But if you're going to have one, you're going to treat yourself to something that tastes really good. It's not a LaCroix. It's not a Diet Coke. It's something that like you can sip on and savor and enjoy and get the same
Yeah.
experience. And, kind of the drinking's very communal. So if you're out with your friends having a couple toddies to
Totally.
celebrate, you can have something that you're like, you're still part of the club.
Yeah. I'm a big mocktail fan, and that's definitely how I approach them.
As far as the back to the alcohol for what you're doing, then the distilling, is there a as you're doing these releases, you started with a handful because you can serve an unaged whiskey, but really it's the aging. So is there a 18, 20-year-old bourbon that you're sitting on right now, you're waiting to release? Is there a release party for each of these as you go along?
Yes, and are we invited?
And are we
Yeah,
invited?
sure.
Yeah, that's
Everyone-
really what I was
everyone's
getting
invited.
at.
Yeah,
Thank
I was
you
like,
very much,
Spencer,
yeah.
please ask the important question.
Yeah. So I think that has been the challenge, right? Is, every distillery takes a path to get to where they're at. I don't
Yep.
blame anybody for their business decision as long as they're honest and transparent about it.
Yeah.
So some distilleries open their door and they source some whiskey from a Kentucky or Indiana distillery,
Yeah.
so they can have aged bourbon when they open their doors. And as long as they tell you that they sourced it, I don't care. But for us, we opened 0 aged product.
Yeah.
Our oldest stuff in barrel now is a little over 9 years old. But we've had to play this game of I got to pay the bills, but I also need to have
Sure.
whiskey on the shelf. And so, yeah, I don't have infinite amounts of whiskey laid down,
Yeah.
but I have whiskey that I think is really good, and we always have whiskey available. And I feel fortunate that we didn't, even though we started this because we loved whiskey, we didn't bank our whole life on being the next great whiskey distillery.
Yeah.
I think if you saw, there's been kind of a bourbon boom and a bourbon bust is upon us.
I believe so.
For a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And so like having a diversified portfolio of products that are all of quality, I think really has helped us in both our bar program and in our goal to continue to see distribution growth.
Yeah. Talk to us about what's happening in the industry in that sense. I'd love to hear your take on that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's kind of wild right now.
Yeah.
With the legalization of marijuana I think it had an impact on adult beverage. Spirits, beer is on the decline, wine is
Yeah.
on the decline. Spirits is relatively flat across nationwide. Bourbon was extremely, extremely hot for the past probably 6 or 8 years. But there's several notable bourbon distillers that have closed in the last 12
Yeah.
months. The ready-to-drink canned cocktail space is the fastest growing segment, and those are spirit-based ready-to-drinks. So how you get to market and how the alcohol is derived matters. A lot of the seltzers are actually made from a malt base, so they're made under a brewing license. So they derive their alcohol from fermenting sugar or malts. Those are flat as well, but the ones that use actual distilled spirits as the base alcohol are where the growth is at in the adult beverage market. And then, like I said, the non-alcoholic stuff is kind of the next wave.
Yeah, interesting.
Technology decisions can make or break a restaurant. That's why restaurants turn to Back of House, your guide to smarter tech strategy. From point-of-sale systems to online ordering, labor tools, and guest engagement platforms, Back of House helps you cut through the noise with expert insights, comparisons, and best practices. Don't just buy tech, build a strategy that grows your business. Visit backofhouse.io and get the clarity you need to choose the right tools for your restaurant.
So you've received a long list of awards for your product. An entire page of your website is dedicated to congratulations, by the way.
You just keep
to those.
scrolling and scrolling,
Yeah,
and the
it just
awards
keeps
is
going.
just keep going.
I mean, at the end of the day, how does that make you feel when you scroll through that page, when you even think about it, that it's not only something you've built this community, obviously, but everyone loves it, and you are getting recognized for all of this. So I just, it must make you have an immense amount of proud feelings when you just sit back and look at what you've done.
Yeah, I certainly am proud. I'm not boastful and think, I'm better than anyone
Sure.
else. But yeah, I mean, that was certainly our goal, was to show the world you could create world-class spirits from Michigan ingredients. And
Yeah.
I think we've done that. You mentioned I'm the president of the Michigan Craft Distillers Association for the past 9 years.
Yeah.
And I think, 9 or 10 years ago, people would buy Michigan because people love Michigan and will support Michigan. But they maybe would buy a bottle of not just my product, but anybody's product. And, we're trying to figure it out. This isn't an industry with a you can't just go to college, get a degree, and then be a distiller and walk out the door, right? Like it's an interesting path to get here. And so I think 10 years ago, people would try it and they'd buy it as a novelty. Oh, this was good. I wanted to support X distillery in my community or something from Michigan. But maybe the quality wasn't quite there. 10 years in, I'll put Michigan's craft distilling quality up against any state in the country, including Kentucky. I think, Kentucky does brown spirits really, really well.
Yeah.
And, they got billions of dollars and billions of barrels of whiskey laid down that, there's a reason aged whiskey in Kentucky is really good.
Yeah.
But you take the depth and breadth of the portfolio of products Michigan producers are making, I'll stack it up against any state in the country for those reasons that we started, right?
Yeah.
We have great grain, we have great fruit, we have great water, and we have really talented people coming from other industries like brewing or winemaking, that those skills are transferable. And as they've learned the industry and learned how to do these things, I think we're head and shoulders on par or above just about any other state for distilled spirits.
You've got a lot of quality all around you, and I think that and you're putting a lot of quality in all of your products, and all of that means you're creating an A-star product, and people see it, they want it, they keep coming back for it. I mean, it makes sense to me.
Every time I come to Michigan too, there is an understated state pride in Michigan that is not as boastful as others, but you can, every time I come to Michigan, you can tell people are very proud of this place, and they love it. Yeah, and it's from the east side to the west side.
So looking ahead, what does Long Road Distillers look like 3 to 5 years from now?
Oh man, 3 to 5 years from now. Well, we just hope to continue to grow.
Yeah?
We only currently distribute in the state of Michigan. So
Are you going to go further?
Yeah, well, that's our hope, is that we want to manage. We want to be sensible and manage growth well.
Yeah.
I think you see a lot of pure brands that may come to Michigan, be hot and cool and sexy for a year, but it's a very capital intensive, resource dependent environment to do that. So I know we're starting to look at some other Midwestern states, especially with the canned cocktails, because it's a fast growing segment. And so I think looking at some surrounding states, in the Midwest here that are have favorable taxation and are also favorable markets to want to support quality products.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's one bit of advice you wish you had at the start, or that you would give someone else that was looking to get into this business before they kicked this off?
Restaurants are hard.
Restaurants are hard.
I always
We
say
actually hear that a lot.
Thank you.
I'm a reluctant restaurateur.
Yeah.
We started because we wanted that big a distillery and have a badass cocktail bar, and we had a small kitchen about the size of this little space we're sitting in here, and about 6 months in, we realized we're going to need a bigger kitchen, and so we did. And my business partner Kyle and I, neither of us had any restaurant experience, but we did it, and I'm glad we did it. But it is, it comes with its own set of challenges but also opportunities, right? It's really allowed us to venture into some other space, and now I have 2 restaurants. So
okay,
I shall be here shortly to go for a tour.
It goes to the name of the podcast. So you want to run a restaurant? Restaurants are hard.
Yeah. Our updated name.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a new tagline.
Yeah, they're really hard.
Should we go to our lightning round?
Let's go to the
We
lightning round.
have a fun lightning round.
Yes.
So it's
Let me hydrate here.
It's just a few quick questions. First thing that comes to your minds. One ingredient you always have on hand.
Red winter wheat.
That makes sense. I shouldn't have asked that one. That was easy. That was
you want a
easy.
restaurant ingredient? Or?
Yeah. No. It's good. You're fine.
Butter.
What's the next one?
What is the weirdest request you've had from a guest or one of your bar partners?
A weirdest request from a guest. I think this is funny. Early on, when we started a cocktail bar, it was we had to sort of change the culture. At a cocktail bar, I want every guest to have the same opportunity to experience that hospitality you get at a great cocktail bar. And so early on, we had to write in our book the rules of the road, because we had a rule that if you didn't have a seat, you couldn't have a drink. And so people would walk in the door and say, well, I'm just going to go to the bar and get a cocktail and I'll wait. And we're like, no, you have to have a seat. Like, I want that bar guest to have the best hospitality experience they can have, and doesn't want somebody leaning over you saying, hey, give me a martini. Or no, I want that. So that was a bit of a culture shock 10 years ago to have rules like that people had to just not get what they wanted when they wanted it.
Yeah.
And now it's no problem. It doesn't matter at all. I think that the culture has shifted, but 10 years ago, that was a fight we had all the time.
Wow.
Oh, really? Yeah. I
Okay.
can do what I want. I can go get a drink whenever I want. Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Yes.
All right. So it's October, and I know your neighbors across the street have some haunted stories. Do you have any ghost stories at your place?
I've had some staff think that building has some weird sounds to it.
Ooh.
Nice.
Do you have any you want to share?
I haven't experienced any
Nothing?
personally,
No?
but it's a big, weird old building. It was built in the 1880s.
Oh, there's something in there.
Yeah, it was a dry goods store, and the family, it was the Seven family who owned Seven's Paint in Grand Rapids. The brother had Seven's Paint down the street, and Cornelius had our building. His house is still the building behind us, and yeah, it's a lot of weird things that have happened in that building over the years.
All right.
All right.
Wow. We'll go in there one day with one of those ghost monitors and see if there's any. You
can go in the creepy basement anytime you want.
I don't know. Now I'm
it's like-
scared. All right.
What's your go-to shift meal?
My go-to shift meal? Right now it's the hot chicken sandwich that Chef Jerry just came up with. Homemade chili oil on it, super hot and spicy.
Chili oil, man.
yeah.
That is the ingredient
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
of like the
It's the
years.
moments. Yeah.
So good. Okay, last question. What's the best compliment a guest can give you?
The best compliment a guest can give me, that they've appreciated what we do, right? And not us. It's like when a bartender gets a compliment about the level of service that they gave, or a server gets a compliment that, I really enjoyed my meal and my drinks. And I think one of the joys is we always say our best vehicle is liquor to lips. And so I don't have big marketing budgets, billboards, ad campaigns, Super Bowl commercials. But what we have is when someone tries our product and then, ultimately buys a bottle to take home with them, right? Whether that's at an in-store liquor store tasting or at our restaurant. They came in, our bartenders and servers had time to talk to them, to explain why our products are different than other people's and why they matter. And then the guest ultimately takes a bottle of that product back to celebrate with, someone else. Or we get lots of people that will come in. We can't ship spirits anywhere. So people will come in from out of state for craft beverage tourism to buy and be like, well, I need to take a bottle of this Michigan back to X state because, they can't get it there.
Oh, that's
and they want to
cool.
share it with their friends and say, we got this in Michigan and it was really great.
Awesome.
That's great. That's awesome. John, thank you so much for being with
No,
us
thank
today.
you so much for having me. This was great.
Phenomenal.
It's been awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So You Want to Run a Restaurant is created by Back of House, produced and hosted by Claudia Sarek, with Nick Florick as executive producer. Marketing by Hillary Young and Ashley Dunn. Creative by Manisha Kishenchand. And live production by Sarah Heemstra. And of course me, your co-host, Spencer Michael. For more information, visit backofhouse.io/podcast.